Hey guys, it's Jen over at worldofjencraft.com, and this is today's project. I was really excited to be able to bring it to you. This was the card class project, one of 4 of them that we did for the month of July. And it uses the embossing paste, but I didn't really do anything super fancy with it. I just used it as a simple background, which as a simple background, it turned out really beautiful. So this is card 1 that we did. And then we also did one in, so this is Lemon Lime Twist, one in Peekaboo Peach, and one in the Berry Burst. And then I also made this little gift bag out of the gift bag punch board as our 3D project for this month. So let's get started with all of the supplies, and I will show you how I put this one together. So I started with the, well, I didn't start, but the Lemon Lime Twist finely woven ribbon. That's a mouthful. And then some linen thread. I use the Vertical Greetings stamp set, Night of Navy and Lemon Lime Twist inks, along with an Emerald Envy Stampin' Right marker, the embossing paste, of course, along with one of the palette knives. And then I used it's kind of like a lattice background stencil out of the decorative masks. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but I did use this one. And for card supplies, I kept this one pretty simple. So Whisper White cardstock is a 4 1/4 by 11. And I prefer to use the regular Whisper White versus the thick for my card bases, but that's just personal preference. I know some people like to use the thick cardstock for their bases, but all of this is the regular Whisper White. And then a 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 and a 2 by 4 1/4. My Lemon Lime Twist is 4 by 5 1/4, and I have a Night of Navy at 2 1/8 by 4 5/8. So the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to get out our background piece that we are going to emboss on. And for this, we are going to use a piece of scratch paper underneath. Now, what we did at class is they lined up the piece behind the stencil because you have white on white, so it's kind of hard to see if you lay your paper down on this and then the stencil over. So we just lined it up, figured out kind of a good place that we wanted to, and then we just set it down. Now, the embossing paste dries rather quickly, so you want to make sure that you have the lid closed on this as you're working. And I'm just going to grab out a big old glop of it and just kind of get started. And it's really simple. You just kind of work that paste into the little spots in here in the stencil. And then as you're working through, you'll have like a layer on top, but because I didn't really do anything fancy, this doesn't take any time at all. So you just want to make sure that you have good coverage through your whole entire piece. And then once you feel like you have that coverage, then you can go back afterwards and take up all of the extra paste that is left over on your stencil. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this up quickly. And that should be a pretty good coverage here. Now, the next thing that is especially important to do is as soon as you are done with your paste, with your template, or stencil, I guess, is you're going to pick it up. And I have pretty good coverage on this, so that I'm really happy with. So I'm just going to set this aside, and I'm going to leave you for just a second so I can wash off my palette knife and my stencil, because if you leave this on here and it dries, it's extremely hard to get off. So I'm going to go wash this just with warm water. Some people use soap. I haven't found I really need to use the soap to get it off, so I will return. Okay, so since we have that done, I'm just going to set this over here for a few minutes to dry. And I thought while it was drying, I would go ahead and start assembling my card and doing the stamping. Your Lemon Lime Twist is going to go just directly onto your Whisper White background. And that is just going to go centered into it. Now for the stamping, you can do this a couple different ways. I guess as you can a lot of times that you stamp. But if you want to, you can use a masking technique. But what I found just as easy is I'm just really careful with where I place my stamp. So all I'm going to do is ink up the base of this pot, of this stamp, with my Night of Navy. And so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it from the side, making sure I get a good coverage on that. I think I missed just a little bit. There, so that looks really good. And then I'm going to take, being careful that you don't put this into it, so I'm going to flip my block around, and then I'm going to get the top part of my tree. And so that should be a good enough coverage right there. Then this is where our Stampin' Right marker is going to come into play. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it just along this stem. And so basically it's going to take away that lemon lime twist ink that we just put on it. And it's just going to cover over with the Emerald Envy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick a few of these little leaves in here to color in with the Emerald Envy. And it doesn't have to be, you know, super specific. So, I don't know, I just kind of picked a few here and there. I think maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 at the top. And then doing the same down here at this next level. And if I had my glasses on, I'd probably be able to see what I'm doing a little bit better. But we're just going to kind of wing it today. So I think that's about it. Maybe I'll put like another little one up here, maybe one down here. And then for the bottom one, you're going to do the same. Okay, and then once you have all of that done, you're going to want to huff on your block just to make sure that everything kind of gets damp again. And then I'm going to stamp on this kind of over here to the side a little bit. There, that turned out really good. So then we're just going to take our sentiment, and that's going to get inked up. And I just used the happy birthday for this one. And we're going to just barely tap on our ink pad. I know the girls kind of had a hard time with not getting any of the ink onto the edges, and so they would go to stamp out their sentiment and they were getting kind of frustrated. So the one thing that I made sure to tell them is with the Stampin' Up pads, you don't have to press really super hard. Just a nice light tap on it and you will get a really good coverage on the letters. Just gonna huff because I've been talking. So that's just gonna go, I think actually I might turn it this way so I can see it a little bit better. And that's just gonna go lined up with, hopefully straight. Well, that'll work. So there you go, you have a nice clean image on there. And that is just going to make sure that this is completely dry before I go to try to put anything on here. Let me check this quick. Okay, well this is dry. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just add my ribbon to the top. And to add your ribbon, you're just gonna wanna run a couple lines of adhesive. And I don't know, this is probably down maybe 1.25 inches from the top. So I'm guessing probably right about here is where I'm gonna wanna put that. So I'm just gonna wrap around the edges. And then we're gonna go ahead and put the rest of the adhesive on, and we're gonna put that onto our lemon lime twist cardstock. Let me bring that back in here. Make sure that's straight. Okay, I guess that's as good as it's gonna get. And I did leave just 1/8 of an inch in my lemon lime cardstock, just as kind of a little color peeking through. And you know, hopefully, let me make sure before I put this down. Yep, I got ink or adhesive over it. So the reason I like to wrap my ribbon around and do the knotting and everything afterwards is you have more stability when you have it adhered down onto your card base. So now I'm going to go ahead, and this should be dry, so we're just going to put some adhesive on. And again, I kept my little mat of this just at that 1/8 of an inch, which obviously I cut it a little bit too long, huh? So I'm going to pull out my paper trimmer and cut off the top of it. I guess I got a little carried away with the length on this one. Oh goodness. Okay, so I think it's just gonna line up here. There, okay, quick fix. Not a big deal. Now I am gonna go ahead and pop this up using some Stampin' Dimensionals. And then I put this, hopefully right side up, so it's, I don't know, maybe about 1/4 of an inch or so from the edges on the bottom and right hand side. And that's just gonna come here. And then lastly, well, I guess maybe not lastly, we're just gonna tie a knot. And I cut that a little bit too long for a knot, but that's okay. I'll just make do. I'll have a little extra maybe for another knot. And then I'm just gonna pull this tight, and this edge is wanting to come up, but that's okay too. We'll just go ahead and push it back down. That's why we have adhesive over where our ribbon is on that side. So we'll just stick that there and cut this down. Cute, cute. And then the last thing, now we're at the last thing, is we're just gonna tie a little bow with the linen thread, or twine if you will. And they were cracking me up because these bows are pretty tiny, so they were giving me grief over having to tie these. But I just kind of think that this little added touch makes a big difference on the overall card, to be honest with you. So I'm just gonna trim this down here. Hopefully my edges are even, and we're going to get a little glue dot and we're gonna glue this on. I love these little tiny glue dots because they're just the perfect size for putting these smaller pieces on. So then I'm just gonna go ahead and stick this down here. And we have a completed card. Yay! So there it is. That is our card. What do you think? I just really love the way the embossing added the texture on the back, and you can do this in all kinds of different colors if you mix in the re-inkers, or if you don't have re-inkers, I'll show you a technique maybe in a later video, but all you have to do is tap your ink pad onto like a clear block or a surface that won't soak it up, and then you can mix your paste in with that. But this is what we have today. Thank you, thank you, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you would like, I will have dimensions on a PDF for all of the cards, for all 3 cards and for the box, in case you would like to recreate the entire set. Over on my website, worldofjencraft.com. Thanks again for watching, and I will check you later in my next video. Have a wonderful day. Bye.